Okay, let's unpack this. We often assume intelligence is our superpower against mistakes, right? The smarter you are, the less likely you are to trip up. But what if that very brilliance actually sets a different kind of trap? What if sometimes it makes you more prone to error? Today we're diving deep into that fascinating paradox. We're exploring David Robson's really thought-provoking 2019 book, The Intelligence Trap: Why Smart People Make Dumb Mistakes. Our mission here is to extract the most important nuggets from this analysis, really uncovering Robson's core argument, which is that traditional intelligence, the kind measured by IQ or academic achievement, isn't the impenetrable shield against irrationality we often assume it to be.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is that Robson isn't demonizing intelligence at all. Not really. Instead, he offers this incredibly nuanced take on its limitations, showing how brilliance in one area, well, it doesn't immunize you against errors in others. He's a British science journalist, and this book, it fits squarely into, psychology, popular science, decision-making. It really bridges that gap between academic research and real-world application.
Okay, so if being smart doesn't automatically protect us,
Yeah.
how exactly does this intelligence trap work? What's actually going on when highly intelligent people, even experts, fall victim to really poor reasoning?
Well, Robson argues the trap is often rooted in things like overconfidence or motivated reasoning, or sometimes just a very narrow definition of what intelligence truly is. He draws on this rich tapestry of insights from psychology, neuroscience, and a whole wealth of compelling real-life examples. He uses these to demonstrate exactly how this plays out, and often with surprising, sometimes even, catastrophic results.
Right. It sounds like what Robson's getting at are those sort of classic mental shortcuts, cognitive biases we hear so much about. Is that the right way to frame it?
Absolutely, yeah. You've hit on a core aspect there. The book outlines various cognitive biases and fallacies, like confirmation bias. That's our tendency to seek out info that confirms what we already believe. And the Dunning-Kruger effect, where people with low ability often overestimate their expertise. And then there's motivated reasoning, where our own desires, our own goals, subtly shape our conclusions. Robson powerfully shows how even seasoned experts are incredibly vulnerable to these, often without even realizing it.
Wow. That's almost terrifying, isn't it? How easily we can fall into these traps. Can you give us some concrete examples from the book just to make this a bit more tangible for us?
Yeah, definitely. Robson uses some truly powerful case studies, really drives the point home. You'll find stories of failed NASA missions, for instance, where brilliant minds just missed critical flaws, serious medical errors made by highly trained doctors, deluded cult leaders who somehow convinced intelligent followers of, absurdities, even arrogant scientists whose egos kind of blinded them to contradictory evidence. He really digs into why smart professionals, doctors, pilots, CEOs can make these shockingly poor decisions. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it highlights that no amount of formal training or raw intelligence guarantees sound judgment in all situations. It's quite a humbling realization, actually.
Yeah, very humbling. So given all these pitfalls, it sounds like Robson is pushing us to maybe redefine what smart even means. He makes a big point about distinguishing analytical intelligence from something else entirely, right?
That's a major takeaway, absolutely. And it's really where the book shifts from just outlining the problem to suggesting solutions. He introduces this critical distinction between analytical intelligence, which is often what we associate with IQ scores, academic success, that kind of thing, and something he calls actively open-minded thinking. AOT for short. And AOT isn't just about how much you know or how fast you process information. It's more a measure of intellectual humility, curiosity, and crucially, the willingness to revise your own beliefs when you encounter new evidence. It's really about being open to the possibility that you might be wrong.
Okay, AOT, actively open-minded thinking. That sounds like a much-needed evolution of smart, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But if traditional intelligence isn't the whole picture, does Robson leave us hanging, just identifying the problem? Or does he offer a path forward? What's his proposed solution or an alternative model for better thinking?
Oh, he absolutely offers a path forward. He proposes what he calls Intelligence 2.0, which is a more holistic model of thinking. It intentionally incorporates skills beyond pure analytical ability. So it includes things like emotional intelligence, understanding and managing our own emotions and recognizing them in others, critical thinking, the ability to objectively analyze and evaluate information, not just accept it. Humility, really recognizing the limits of our own knowledge, which connects back to AOT. Cognitive flexibility, that's the capacity to adapt to new situations, change our perspective when needed. And perhaps most importantly, cultivating a scientific mindset, which is essentially that willingness to test our own hypotheses and be proven wrong.
Right.
And this raises a really important question for all of us, doesn't it?
Right.
Are we actively cultivating these broader skills alongside our analytical abilities? Or are we just relying too much on our raw intellect?
That really reframes the conversation.
Okay, so we've explored the why behind these traps and Robson's idea of intelligence 2.0. Let's shift gears maybe to what next? What are the most practical light bulb moment takeaways we can grab from this deep dive? Insights we can actually apply.
Yeah, good question. There are 3 crucial insights from the book that really stuck with me. First, and this one's kind of profound, smart people don't just make bad choices. They often rationalize them more effectively.
Oh.
Think about it, right? If you're brilliant at logic, you can build this incredibly sophisticated, almost impenetrable mental fortress around a flawed idea, which actually makes it harder to admit you're wrong. It inadvertently entrenches those bad beliefs.
Wow. Second, mental agility and intellectual humility, that AOT we talked about, they are stronger predictors of sound judgment than raw IQ. So it's not just about how fast you process information, but how open you are to new information and how willing you are to adapt. And third, emphasizing thinking about thinking, metacognition it's called. This significantly helps avoid common mental traps. It's about pausing and asking yourself, why do I believe this? What assumptions am I making here?
Those are incredibly actionable points, thinking about thinking. Now, from the reviews and our discussion, it sounds like Robson's book itself has some real strengths beyond just these core insights. What makes it a compelling read for someone thinking about picking it up?
Well, it has several strong points that make it very accessible and, I think, impactful. For one, Robson has a journalist's eye for storytelling that keeps the book really lively. It's full of vivid examples, so it's far from a dry academic text.
That's aging.
Exactly. It's also remarkably well researched. He draws on a really broad range of psychological studies, interviews with leading scientists, fascinating historical anecdotes. You get a lot of evidence. Plus, it includes practical advice. There are concrete tips in there to help you avoid cognitive traps, improve your decision-making, and essentially become a wiser thinker. And, importantly, it's balanced. Like we said, it doesn't just bash intelligence. It offers a nuanced, fair take on its limitations.
Okay, that sounds incredibly thorough and useful. But just for a balanced view, were there any areas where maybe it falls a bit short? Any minor critiques?
Sure, like any book. Some readers have noted it can feel a bit repetitive at times. Certain arguments or examples might seem to overlap a little as you go through. Also, the science, while he makes it accessible, might be slightly too simplified for someone seeking a really deep academic dive into the specific studies he cites. It's popular science, after all. And maybe, finally, some readers might find the general advice a little less prescriptive than they hoped, like lacking super clear step-by-step instructions for every single situation. But honestly, these feel like minor points in what's overall a very valuable book.
Got it. So, bringing it all together, what does this all mean for us? The intelligence trap, it really sounds like an enlightening exploration of why intelligence alone just isn't enough to navigate our complex world effectively. It's a timely, maybe even timeless message about how cultivating these broader thinking skills, humility, flexibility, metacognition, can help us become wiser, not just smarter. And frankly, lead to better outcomes in our lives, right?
Absolutely. This deep dive, or the book itself, would be invaluable for pretty much anyone interested in psychology, decision-making, critical thinking. It feels particularly relevant for professionals, maybe in leadership roles or in fields like science, law, medicine, places where judgment is critical, and certainly students of behavioral science. If you've enjoyed books like, say, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, or maybe Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely, this is definitely in that same important vein. It offers another vital piece to that puzzle of human judgment.
Definitely. So here's a final thought for you, the listener, to consider as you navigate your own decisions, big or small. How often do you actively question your own assumptions, really challenge them? And how willing are you truly to revise your beliefs, even if they're based on what you thought was solid intelligence? Something to chew on. Keep exploring, and we'll catch you next time for another deep dive.